A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Chapter Surah 35, Initiator, and 23 verses tonight, inshallah. Okay, very well. Let's see. Okay, again, 23 verses tonight of chapter 35. Fatiha. Give me a moment, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Praise God, initiator of the vacuum and matter, dispatcher of the angels as messengers, possessing 2, 3, and 4 wings. He increases the creation as he wills. Surely God is all-powerful over all things. What God bestows upon the people from mercy, no one can stop it. And whatever he stops, no one can grant it afterwards. And he is the Almighty, the All-Wise. O you people, remember God's blessings upon you. Is there any other creator besides God who provides for you from the vacua and matter? There is no God except he, therefore how can you deviate? And if they reject you, so were rejected messengers before you, and to God all matters will be referred. O you people, God's promise is the truth, therefore do not be deceived by this worldly life, and do not be deceived away from God by an illusion. Indeed, Satan is your enemy, therefore you shall treat him as an enemy. Surely he invites his party to become dwellers of the blazing hell. As for the unfaithful, awaiting them is an ultimate suffering, and as for those who believed and led a righteous life, reserved for them are forgiveness and a great recompense. Have you noted the one whose evil deeds have been adorned for him to the extent that he sees them as good deeds? Surely God misleads whomever he wills and guides whomever he wills. Therefore, do not put yourself out worrying about them. Surely God fully knows what they are concocting. And God is the one who sends the wind to stir up the clouds. We then drive it towards the dead town, whereby we revive the dead land. Such is resurrection. Whoever seeks dignity shall realize that all dignity belongs to God. To him ascends the pure utterance, and he exalts righteous deeds. As for those who scheme evil, reserved for them is an ultimate suffering, and their scheming will be null and void. And God is the one who created you from clay, then from semen. Then he made for you spouses. And no female gets pregnant, nor does she give birth, except by his knowledge. And no one attains a long life, and no one's lifespan is cut short, except according to a record. Surely this is easy for God. And the 2 seas are not the same. This one is fresh water, delicious to drink, while that one is salty, completely salty. And from each one you eat fresh meat and extract jewelry to wear. And you see the ship sailing in its midst, for you to seek his bounty, so that you may be appreciative. He merges the night into the day and merges the day into the night, and he subdued the sun and the moon, each floating for a specific interim. Such is God, your Lord. To him belongs the kingship. As for those who call upon ones besides him, they do not even own the dry shell of a date palm. If you call them, they cannot hear your call, and even if they hear, they cannot respond to you. And on the day of resurrection, they disown your act of setting up partners for God, and no one informs you like the all-cognizant. O you people, you are the needy in front of God, while God is rich, praiseworthy. If he wills, he can wipe you out and replace you with a new creation. And this is not difficult for God. And no one carries another one's sin. And if he calls for a load to be carried, no one will carry it, even if they are relatives. Surely only those who fear their Lord in their privacy and observe the contact prayer will take heed. And whoever purifies himself, he only purifies his own soul, and to God is the ultimate return. And the blind and the seer are not equal, and neither are the darkness and the light, and neither are the shade and the blazing sun. And the living and the dead are not the same. Indeed, God makes whomever he wills to hear, and you cannot make hearers of those who are already in graves. You are no more than a warner.
Okay, mashallah. Thank you. Very good. Okay. Are there any questions, any comments, any observations on these verses we just read?
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Fazely.
Wa alaikum assalam, Anwar. Yes, go ahead, please.
All the verses read tonight is so full of wisdom and so straightforward. But then I find one verse, which is 35:8, quite a scary one in the sense. May I read it out, sir?
Please, yes.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Have you noted the one whose evil deeds have been adorned for him to the extent that he sees them as good deeds? I mean, this is a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
Very dangerous. It's frightening, actually. And then God says, surely God misleads whomever he wills and guides whomever he wills. Therefore, do not put yourself out worrying about them. Surely God fully knows what they are concocting. I just wanted to make that comment. But everything,
Very good.
It's just so much full of wisdom and guidance and mercy of God that, one has, it just makes you reflect and ponder over these verses. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. Anything else? We've been talking about this the expansion of the creation, and very first verse of this chapter we just read tonight, it says, "Praise God, initiator of the vacuum and matter, dispatcher of angels as messengers, possessing 2, 3, and 4 wings. He increases the creation as he wills. Surely God is all powerful over all things." See, so this is God's system. God keeps creating. He is the creator. And so that's what he does. And so this verse, again, another testimony to what we have been talking about, of the verses in the Quran and the cosmology of the Quran, and of all the true things that are actually right and correct, not things that are fleeting. Any comments, any observations, any discussions?
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Fazely.
Walaikum assalam. Yes, go ahead, please.
David from Roosevelt Island. I wanted to ask you just a question about a few years ago, there was a statement that was going around that was very popular. The world, was getting smaller. There were so many people in the world that, it started to present a lot of, how can I say, abortions and all kinds of theories about eliminating poor nations and things like that. I mean, how could an idea like that really flourish in the world where, we're understanding now that God is expanding everything, that the world is too populated for everybody to live on? I just thought that, it's such a crazy theory, but that people actually into it.
Yeah. Well, those are the people who like these ideas that the sky is falling and there's nothing we can do about it, and so we are basically doomed. In the 70s they said there's no more oil. Okay, and there were songs that people sang, and there's only so much oil in the ground, and but there is a glut right now. There's an oil glut, and some of these countries are they have been sanctioned against trades in oil and stuff that we've seen, because of Ukraine and the wars that are going on. But even without those countries being contributing to the oil supplies of the world, there is still a lot of oil. And the same thing with food. They said, well, we're not going to have enough food to eat, and we cannot feed people. At that time, there were only 3 billion people in the world in the 70s. Now there's over 8 billion people in the world, and everybody's obese. So there's always enough things to eat, because God provides that for us. And people forget that. This is, these are doom and gloom people that they like. They think that bad news is good news, actually. So that's what they want to do, and so let it be. It doesn't matter. But God says He provides. So for us, that's enough. So we should not be swayed by these other, vain talks. Let them talk and say whatever they want to do. Doesn't matter. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Verse 2, it says, what God bestows upon people from mercy, no one can stop it. And so God's mercy is encompassing everything. Again,
Somebody's making a lot of noise.
okay. Okay, we'll go back to that verse 2. It says that God says that from His mercy. So God's mercy is ever expanding. Okay? And no one can stop it. And then God says, and whatever He stops, no one can grant it afterwards. Okay? So do not take yourself out of God's mercy by disobeying Him and going against His instruction and His laws. That's the way to oblivion. Okay. And then God says He's the Almighty, the All-Wise. Okay. Then God says, oh, you people, remember God's blessings upon you. Is there any other creator besides God who provides for you from the vacuum and matter? There is no God except He. Again, God keeps telling us about this. Therefore, how can you deviate? Okay. And then this is about rejection of the messenger. If they reject you, so were rejected messengers before you. And to God all matters be referred. Okay. So this is a systematic thing that goes on over and over and over again. The messengers are rejected. People don't want to hear these things. Okay. The last year has been absolutely mind-boggling. the amount of information that we have gained by God's lead, that God has transmitted all of this information to us that we didn't have before. All of those things that we have known. Okay, I mean, Quran has a completely different complexion right now for us. It's not the same. It's not the same Quran we were reading, a year ago. It's different. It gives us more information. We understand it better. Okay, so it shows the facets of the Quran. God is showing us the facets of the Quran that was unknown to us, that we did not understand. Okay, so I just want to go to 56, chapter 56, verse 75. $56.75. Okay. Here it says that this is what God says. I therefore swear by the position of the stars. Okay, this is a completely different meaning for us after these discoveries that were made. Okay. And then he says, and this is certainly a mighty oath if you only knew. We know it better now. We understand it better. And then God says, إِنَّهُ لَقُرْآنٌ كَرِيمٌ. This is indeed an honorable Quran. In a protected book. God is not talking about the mathematics of the Quran. Okay? Then he says, no one can understand it except for the pure at heart. It is a revelation from the Lord of the multiverse. Okay, these verses that I just read to you, they have a completely different meaning right now. From the stuff that we have discovered today, and we know today, that we didn't know 3 weeks before. It was completely unknown to us. Okay, we didn't know that. For the past 2 weeks, all this information has come. So this oath that God is taking, I therefore swear by the position of the stars. We didn't know about those stars then. Okay? And if I go to chapter 69 verse 38. Okay? I therefore swear by what you see and what you do not see. Okay, those galaxies that I showed you, they're islands of a bunch of stars, hundreds of billions of stars. We didn't know. We could not see them. Okay. Then God says, "Innahu laqawlun rasulun kareem." Okay, that is most assuredly the utterance of an honorable messenger. It is not the utterance of a poet. Rarely do you believe. Nor is it the utterance of a priest. Rarely do you take heed. This is the revelation from the Lord of multiverse. Again, the same thing God says. The same thing. Okay? So here that we see these things, okay, what you see and what you do not see. This is a completely different meaning for us today. We look at it with respect, with awe, with this feeling of total respect for God, and that we didn't have before. We didn't have this kind of feeling that we have today. Now this makes so much sense to us. I therefore swear by what you do, what you see, and what you do not see. Okay. And so that also gives us indication that there are other things that we cannot see from God's creation. And again, God says He increases the creation. We just read in chapter 35, the first verse. Okay, so this is the amazing things about the Quran, that as I said, it becomes a book which actually not only it grows, it's ahead of you. It's always ahead of you. Always gives you information that that you didn't have before. And so, we find all of these things out, and by God's grace, we should be grateful for this, that God has provided this for us.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, Fariel. Yes, go ahead, please.
I was listening to expansion also in terms of the Sabbath, and one of my problems with Sabbath was, every year that everything is on Saturday and everything is going to be gone, and the prices and so many things that made it hard at the beginning to accept it, not actually seeing how much now in all those years have passed that there's nothing that I miss on Saturday except that I'm so grateful to have a chance to rest and not go looking and hunting, because God has provided and He's ever expanding, even for the believers, twice as much probably on Saturdays than any other day, So it's just a mercy that we are able to trust God and believe that He has infinite amounts of everything, and that He doesn't give us less for doing more for Him, or not that we're doing anything for Him, but by listening and obeying.
Yeah. God somehow will provide that for you. I mean, as I said, when we do these things, when we obey God's commandments, He actually increases the efficiency of everything that you do. It's not the same. It's more. All of your tasks are more efficient. You are happier. You make sure that you are rested. Okay, and that's what we need. We need those things. God knows what we need, and so that's why He tells us to do these things, and so we have to obey Him. Very good, very good.
Salam, Dr. Fazely. May I make a very quick remark?
Yeah, please. Yes, go ahead. Yes, yes.
You were talking about the mercy of God, and it just reminded me of that verse where it says, God has decreed mercy unto Himself.
That's right, exactly.
Isn't that very comforting?
Yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah. Anything else? Any other comments or any questions, observations, anything? And again, I mean, in 35:10, okay, if you look at this verse 35:10, it says that whoever seeks dignity shall realize that all dignity belongs to God. Okay? So it says, look, don't try to have this flimsy type of respect from other people. Okay? Like politicians do and those kind of people. So it says, don't worry about it. That's not the case. You should realize that all dignity belongs to God. Okay? And so it actually shows you throughout history, all of those people who were people of God, okay, those people were actually, they have more dignity and more respect amongst other people than people who did not have respect for God. Okay? It's just a fact of life. So, these guys were not very prominent people in historical records or anything like that. And, you look at prophets like Moses, Jesus, Prophet Muhammad, all of these people, Abraham, everybody knows about them. And somehow they are respected. Okay? But the point is that Abraham is not a historical figure. Okay? Jesus has lived a very short period of time, and he was gone. But the point is that he was not a historical figure. But how come everybody knows him? Okay? And Muhammad is the name Muhammad is actually the most common name in the world. 150 million boys or men in this world called Muhammad. Okay? So, and everybody knows about him. He was not from a very big empire or anything like that. 1400 years ago, the Byzantium Empire and the Persian Empire, the Sassanid Empire were there. Those are the big powers in the world. This guy was not somebody who was very prominent. As a matter of fact, that's what they are saying in the Quran. It says, if this guy was one of the prominent people of the two communities, you would have believed. Okay? So, but why all of a sudden he's like this? Okay? So, those people have the dignity. Whoever seeks dignity shall realize that all dignity belongs to God, because they knew that all dignity belongs to God. Okay? To him it says the pure utterance, and he exalts righteous deeds. The righteous deed that these guys did actually exalts them. Okay. As for those who scheme evil, reserved for them is an ultimate suffering, and their scheming will be null and void. Okay. And then God says our creation, how we were created. And God is the one who created you from clay, then from semen. Then he made for you spouses. And no female gets pregnant, nor does she give birth, except by his knowledge. And no one attains a long life, and no one's lifespan is cut short, except according to a record. Those are the number system that God has. Okay? So those are all recorded. It says, surely this is easy for God. So this is what God is telling us. And you see, look here. He says that made for you spouses, and no female gets pregnant. So and nor does she give birth except by his knowledge. So that means that the relation of men and women is for procreation, to make offsprings. Okay, that's what it's supposed to be used. Some people ask, say, why doesn't God say anything about in the Quran about women getting together and being homosexual and stuff like that? Why this question is irrelevant, because if two women get together, they're using an organ and a facility that God created for them for procreation, specifically for lust. Okay? That's not the point that God created this for. That's not the reason. It wasn't the goal. The goal is right here. Made for your spouses. And then right after that, no female gets pregnant, nor does she give birth except by his knowledge. Okay. So the thing that God has created for us, men and women, is for procreation. So the organs that God has created for us is for that purpose, not exclusively for lust. And that's what is being used these days. So homosexuality is condemned because of that, because there is no outcome, and it's just purely for sexual pleasure. And that's not what God meant in the Quran or in any scriptures. That's the problem. Okay, any questions, comments, observations? Well,
Salam, Dr. Fazely.
Walaikum salam. Yes, go ahead, please, Maryam.
It's the verse 35:10. So the verse 10 about the descendants of the pure utterance. I understand about the exaltation of the righteous deeds, but what is the understanding of the pure utterance reaches God? Is this what it is, or what is it exactly about to Him? A sense the pure utterance.
Yeah. That means that it's to his pleasure. He pleases when he sees these kind of things. Okay? On the other hand, and God says, and he exalts righteous deeds. As for those scheme evil, reserved for them is an ultimate suffering, and their scheming will be null and void. So those are not the type of things that God advocates. God advocates righteousness. God advocates pure utterance, nice utterances. Okay? A lot of people use a lot of, harsh language, bad language, and that's not what God likes. It's not pleasing to God.
So does it mean that the pure utterances reaches Him? I mean, or He lets the... I was just thinking in terms of, for instance, the example of Adam. So when he was like kicked out from paradise, and he sought God forgiveness, God says he basically taught him what to say, so that God grants or redeems him, if I can say that. So is it that certain things then when we utter them, if they reach God only if it is in accordance to what He wants to hear?
No, I mean, look, in the case of Adam received those words because he was worthy of receiving those words, and he actually accepted those words. Some people, look, suppose those words were Al-Fatiha, okay? Yes. I don't know what language Adam spoke, okay, but that's not crucial at this time. Yes. But he received words by which he could have actually redeemed himself. He wanted those words. He was eager to hear those words from God, and he repeated them. Okay? Today we cannot get people to say their prayers.
Yes.
Okay? We bring reason after reason after reason after reason. Okay? For them to say their prayers, and they don't want to do it. Okay? So I have shown all of these things to people, and people still refusing to do their prayers. They don't want to do it, okay? And they bring all kinds of excuses why they shouldn't do it. So here I'm just going to go ahead and do this for you. Okay. This is the opener, okay?
No problem.
All right. So if I open the opener here on this thing that I have, can you see my screen?
Yes, I do. I can.
Okay. So this is modern technology, and we just go ahead and we say review and word count here, and there is a box here opens up, and he says there are 29 words here. I didn't count it. This computer counted it for me. It says 139 letters. Okay? And he says seven paragraphs or 7 verses. So it's right here in front of us. And so it happens that the 139 happens to be the 19th additive prime. An additive prime is a prime number. The number of digits adds up to a prime. 1 plus 3 is 4 plus 9 is 13. 13 is a prime number. So 139 happens to be the 19th additive prime. And so God says over it is 19. The opening statement actually has 19 letters in it. Okay, so if I close this one, I'll highlight this guy here. And then I say, review, word count. There it is, 19 letters. Okay, the number of letters is 19. Okay, but anyway, so all of these are in there. Okay, then we found out that 139th adjective prime happens to be 1657. In 1657, the sum of digits actually adds up to 19 again. 1 plus 6 plus 5 plus 7 is 19. So that one written in base 19, if you assume it's written in base 19, in base 10 is 9127. So every time everybody in this world, they do their prayers, willingly or unwillingly, very important, God says that, okay? Willingly or unwillingly. Remember, that's what God said to the vacuum and matter. Come into existence willingly or unwillingly. They say we come willingly. Yes. Willingly or unwillingly, when they utter these words in Arabic, okay, everybody is basically saying 9 has 127 verses, 17 times a day. Yeah. Okay. And so we brought all of these, and people still refuse to do their prayers. They don't want to do it. Okay. So what can you do? And the same thing with Adam. Adam could have refused. So no, I don't want to say these things. He had an option. But he chose not to refuse. He accepted it. Okay? So in that case, whatever of these good words or of these pure words or pure utterance that we do, and God teaches us all of those things. Okay? These are the ones who ascend to God. These are the ones that ascend to God. The rest of the stuff, the bad language or whatever it is going to remain here, and it's going to be to our own detriment when we do that. Okay. So we shouldn't do that. Okay?
Makes sense. Thank you so much, Dr. Fazely.
Okay.
Salam, Dr. Fazely. This is Anwar again.
Yes, Anwar. Go ahead, please. Yes.
Talking about the pure utterances and whether God is pleased or not, I just want to refer to Surah 39, verse 7. I can read it if you want me to.
Yes, please go ahead, yes.
If you disbelieve, God is in no need of you. But He is not pleased when His servants disbelieve. However, when you are appreciative, He is pleased with you. Mm-hmm. No one carries the sin of another. Finally, to your Lord is your return, and He will inform you of everything you have done. Surely, He fully knows the innermost thoughts. There's another key word, the innermost thoughts. So when the pure utterances comes out, it is, and God knows that. He knows everything. He's the all-knowing, the all-cognizant.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you. That's very good. That's very good. Yeah, thank you. Yep, that's true. That's absolutely true. As I said, bad language. God doesn't like bad language. That's what God says. Okay, He doesn't like bad language. Bad language is not going to go anywhere. Okay, that's not what God's system is. God's system is based on politeness, based on using language which is appropriate. And those are the type of things that God likes, and those are the one that God makes God pleases God. Okay, that kind of utterance pleases God. The other ones do not.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Fazely.
Walaikum salam. Yes, go ahead, Nisha.
Just wanted to ask permission to leave early.
Okay, that's fine. Please, by all means. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments or observations or any discussions that somebody wants to lead or bring up?
I do, Dr. Fazely.
Yes, please go ahead. Yes.
I was thinking of the town of Babel, when language, with the town of Babel. I mean the Babel, when the languages were all changed, and then Harut Marut came, and the angel showed the good things and the bad things. And I'm looking at some of the words, like why are those words even there? Maybe because they were used to call up certain energies or do things. I'm just not saying that's what it was, but I was thinking, why is these bad words even here? Perhaps when we visit that topic, when we visit, I think it's Surah 2, when we visit again, we might see something in it that, because God says don't use the bad language, but sometimes you utter them when you're feeling oppressed or
yes, that
angry.
Is true.
Yeah. And so I mean, I feel oppressed a lot of times, and yes, I do. Not confessing, but I'm just thinking, why do those words come up as opposed to just mashallah, alhamdulillah, this is what God wills.
Yes, exactly.
So are we tending to go to the witchery type words? I'm just trying to get a feeling of it, because I've been concerned about it also. And I inshallah.
As I said, any kind of language which is not polite, which is not appropriate, should not be used. Okay, so we should avoid them as much as we possibly can.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot. I can't tell you that I'm understanding, especially today. It was a lot for me to take in. Even with the expansion of the world, my brain isn't expanding as fast as you're showing us what's going on. But it's a feeling in my heart that works, so I'm happy with it.
Well, very good. I mean, it's a time of that, that we are at awe, okay? With all of the stuff that's happening, we're at awe. And, we're in a situation right now that we are receiving. Let me go ahead and do this. There's a lot of go to camera right now. This is a time of information, and information technology is growing so rapidly and so fast, and a lot of this stuff is open up all of these windows and all of these doors for us that we did not see before, and we were not aware of it. But today we are privileged to be witnesses to these things. And all of these, God says, look around you and see, okay, in chapter 67, okay, that, we actually, today we saw how it's actually playing that important role in another facet of it, how it actually generates 9127, and with the Surah Muhammad. And so those are the important things. But anyway, all of those combined together, we see it in the Quran every day now. We see these verses, as I said, they have a completely different, understanding for us. We understand them better. We enjoy them. It's not a burden on us to just read the Quran. And some people, they think it's a burden. That you have to do this and come here or whatever, or read it by yourself. Some people think it's a burden upon them, but we enjoy it. This is now, it's become a time for us to enjoy it and be happy with what God has revealed to us. It's a unique moment in our lifetime.
That's true, Dr. Fazely, because if you think about it, everything else is like the same storyline, you know. The Quran is expanding in the words, so you're always getting something different. But you can watch a TV just about know what's going to happen at the end, you know. So yeah, we believe is we don't have anything else. That this is our food, you know. And we
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you know, this is 67. I was just talking about this. See, blessed is the one in whose hand is the kingship, and he's all powerful over all things. He is the one who created death and life in order to distinguish those who do better deeds. And he's the Almighty, the All-Forgiver. And then he's the one who created the 7 vacua in layers. You never see any contradiction in the creation of the All-Gracious. Go ahead, take a look. Do you see any flaw? Look again and again. Your eyes will come back to you, subdued and amazed. Okay? And then he says that, and God says, and we have surely adorned the lowest vacuum with lamps, and we have placed therein projectiles for the demons. These are the demons of underworld, so to speak. And we have prepared for them the suffering of a raging inferno. And so this is absolutely amazing. And so God is telling us, and this is true. I mean, look again and again. Okay? And your eyes will come back to you subdued and amazed. So those pictures that we see today, I mean, it is absolutely, we are in awe when we see those things. And we're not expected to be there. But they are there, according to God's will and God's plan and God's creation. Okay, very good. Are there any more questions? Okay, if there are not, let's finish for tonight, and we'll go ahead and gather